information for your small businesses. This was wonderful. That was a treat. So now what we're going to do today, we're going to take you to another page of our program. And Crystal, who do we have in the studios today?
We have Tana in session. You guys gonna have to forgive me. I've been around 23 children with all kinds of wild names, and I told the kids, right now, this is my disclaimer. I won't know your full names until the last week before the competition. And on top of that, I just got back. I got done with Mount Sac.
Oh,
so I had
Lord.
15 people there. Forgive me.
You are excused. You're excused. So our special guest in the studio is Miss Tana Sessions.
Yes.
She was born in New York City foster care system and remained there until she was 3.5 years old. She experienced various hardships throughout her life, but learned that they were not her fault, but they were her problem. She set out to establish a life that was quantum leaps from where she started. Tana has built a successful career in human resources and a successful business in spite of her background, and she continues to use her adversities as fuel and not excuses. Over the years, she has held almost every human resource position imaginable while building her resume and expertise in the profession. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and an MBA in organizational psychology and development. She also attained multiple certifications in the field of human resources and is a certified trained career and life coach. And in addition, she previously owning her own business, she has served as the top human resource leader of multiple companies, including the for-profit and non-profit organizations. This young lady has been on probably every television show. She was on Forbes. She is just doing her thing. She has 3 amazing books. Inside the Revolving Door, Get Your Career Life in Order, and The Little Book of Motivation and Inspiration, which is your latest.
Yes.
I haven't even got the first book out. You at least have co-authored a couple books, right?
Yes, I have.
And you and I got work to do.
We still got work to do. Our special guest here, Miss Tana Sessions, she is what I think I would like to grow up to be.
Oh, boy.
Really? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
She is doing things. And in today's time and space, HR has a special place right about now.
Yes.
And I think as an independent more so than working for a company.
Yeah.
Because I think with everything that's going on at companies, I mean, every time you turn on the television, every time you open up a newspaper or your YouTube, some company, some employee that's representing that company
got fired.
They got fired and have stepped so far out the line of humanity is beyond belief. Yeah. So how are we dealing with this kind of stuff right now?
Well, to be in HR now is a great time, right?
Yes.
Because people have so little respect for HR for many, many years. We were the gatekeepers. We were the people who in their mind, did the hiring and the firing.
Right.
And now they're leaning on us to bring in appropriate training. They didn't listen to us before. I'm going to speak for my profession because I know some really good HR people. And we've tried to police a lot of the bad behavior. And oftentimes we were either dismissed or told to get with the program. And if you didn't like it, you can go somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
I've heard that many
really?
times. Yes. And so now they're respecting the fact that HR really are the gatekeepers. We're the ones that's putting these policies in place and also making sure that the leaders are being trained, that the messaging is coming from the top down, and that they are walking the walk and talking the talk at the same time.
And I was so impressed with Howard Schwartz for the proactive reaction that he had to what went at Starbucks.
Yeah.
I thought that he just jumped right in there, which is not usual, is it? That's abnormal.
It was abnormal. I think because of the publicity, he had no choice.
Okay.
So myself and some of my HR colleagues, we've talked about this.
Okay.
And it would be interesting to see if it sustains. So I did go by a couple of Starbucks just to make sure they were closed, and they were.
Yeah, they were closed.
Oh, they were?
They were closed.
They're closing once a month now, from my understanding, because the one on La Brea in Cincinnati made an announcement when I was there the other day. We're closing for a day for training, so...
Yeah, so I know that they're rolling out this training, but again, it has to be a cultural thing. So they have to make sure they're bringing in the right people that are going to live by this new culture that they're trying to set with the training, that when they see things go awry, that they will react in real time and not wait for it to escalate.
Okay.
And make examples of people if they have to.
Right.
So.
Because in the past, sometimes those issues or circumstances or situations got pushed under a rug, right? And felt that because, let's take Harvey Weinstein, for example. Their HR department definitely knew that was going on for the time frame.
Right.
And even with Matt Lauer, they knew that.
That's right.
And so that's from the top down, right?
Yes.
And they were not dealing with the issue from the top down.
Exactly. And I wrote an article for Forbes when this first happened and I wrote it as an HR professional. And I said, basically, where was HR when all this happened? Because I hold my colleagues accountable because we do have a due diligence of what our role is. And we can't get blinded by power, money, position, fear of our own position, because then you lose the trust of the employees and then they start reporting. So they start reporting, then we won't know what's happening because it won't come across our desk. It won't come through an email. We won't get an anonymous letter in the mail. And I've experienced all of those throughout my career. But if employees don't feel that the system is there to support them and that they can trust, they won't be retaliated against, treated differently, not promoted. Starting to get written up for things that they used to do all the time that was never a problem. If that level of trust is not there, then you can guarantee they're not going to report when things happen. So HR's job is to have that level of trust, develop that type of culture by working with leadership to make certain that employees feel that they have a place to report these types of things, especially now.
Well, Tana, I want to welcome you to the Business Zone once again. And thank you. And I want to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room.
Ooh.
First, I want to thank you for doing a great job with the human resources.
Thank you.
Because you're taking a little different spin to it. And I think I understand why you're taking a different spin. But let's talk a little bit first about that elephant in the room. Most employees, they don't really trust HR.
Right.
And part of the reason is because over the years, HR tend to work for the best interest of the organization instead of the employees. So if an employee went up to HR and shared something confidential, somehow, some way, that confidential stuff is shared with somebody else that had no business knowing about that.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why a lot of employees lose trust with HR. A lot of individuals, they may have career goals and plans, and they take that to HR, and HR shut it down. So I would just like you to address a little bit why you take the approach that you do. Is it because you were an employee at one time and you saw how HR have been treating people and you decide to make a change to that? Or what is it? Because you have an insightful approach to it. So share with our audience.
That is a fantastic question. And I'll be the first to say that everyone in HR doesn't deserve to be in HR.
Right.
I've come across some good ones and some bad ones.
Yes.
And, unfortunately, people are jaded because of bad experiences. So they carry that with them even when they go to another company. So I get it. I absolutely get it. But one of the reasons why I stepped out of corporate and decided to do HR on my own terms is because you're right. I saw how employees were being treated. I ran into issues with CEOs who they had in mind who they wanted to promote, even if the person really wasn't qualified, although we knew someone else was. So they would make excuses for keeping this person back. And it could be a person of color. It could be a woman. And those things I couldn't digest.
Right.
And I wasn't comfortable being part of the problem and not being part of the solution.
Right.
So when I stepped out almost 3 years ago and said I want to do HR consulting, I want to do career coaching, I specifically wanted to work with women and people of color because I wanted them to have the tools that they needed to be successful if they decided to stay in corporate. Right. Because a lot of things that no one's going to tell them. They're not going to tell them what types of things are being said around the table.
Right.
They're not going to tell them what types of things they need to do to get in the door. They're not going to tell them what they need to do or say to get that interview and how to nail that interview for themselves if they're a good fit.
Right.
So that's really what my goal was when I stepped out. And I've been fortunate over the last 3 years to work with a lot of people, seeing them land those jobs that they wanted. And some of them even leave and start their own businesses because that was a better fit. And that's what I talk about. It's like, what really is a good fit? Because sometimes you are trying to put a square peg into a round hole.
Right.
So you're going to get frustrated. HR is going to get frustrated.
Right.
Your supervisor is going to get frustrated.
Right.
Yes.
So can we find some of those ideas in this book here?
Yes. So in that book, Get Your Career Life in Order, I started doing speaking engagements, and I had so many people ask questions that I just didn't have time to answer.
Right.
I started collecting them, and I said, I'm just going to make a book and give them what they need.
That's beautiful.
So I did things based on what I saw work in the companies I've been with, and I've been with Fortune 500s. I've been with small companies, big companies, for-profit, not-for-profit. I've worked directly, reported directly to CEOs for the last 10, 12 years. So I can get inside their heads.
Right.
And so I took that and I put the book together, Get Your Career Life in Order. And I step people from, it's 11 steps. And it's a playbook. So I tell them, start with your why. So that's the very thing they have to do. It's really, it's a workbook. They have to talk about why do you want to make this move right now? Or why do you want this promotion? So you got to understand what that is.
Right.
And then from there, I talk to them about, how do you now go to find resources for the types of jobs that you're interested in? What do those jobs look like? What do you do and don't want? Right? Because sometimes we make emotional decisions and we just want to move. I'm challenging people to be more strategic about those moves in this book.
And it's interesting you said that, Gilbert, but when you first start working, especially if you're a young person just starting your career, you do believe that HR is there for you, right? Because that's what the isn't that what the handbook tells you?
Exactly.
If you got any problems, go to HR, right?
That is what we say.
And then you go to HR and you're like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah.
Right? And then you see those problems. And I've always worked hand in hand with HR. And so it was kind of an interesting thing because I'm more of a nurturing people person.
Right.
And so from a payroll standpoint, because that's how I interacted with, so same kind of thing. We're still dealing with issues, but I always took a more humane approach. And so they usually would come to me and not HR because they didn't feel like they were getting what they were going to get. Or being heard. And then I would then go to HR and say, look, here's some of the circumstances that they've shared with me. And so let's see whatever. But they're told HR is there for you. Whatever problems you have, don't let them fester. Come to us and we will mediate between you and your supervisor.
Now, tell me if this is a misconception, right?
Okay.
Are we supposed to see HR as a mentor, a coach, and a facilitator? Or am I totally looking at it the wrong way?
It depends on the organization. It really does. The role of HR can morph and change based on the needs of the organization. So I started doing more coaching in my last couple of jobs because I had the flexibility to do that. A lot of HR people don't. I was able to mentor because a lot of times I was the only one who looked like me in the organization that was in a leadership role. So everyone who looked like me in the company said, help me get there. Or how did you get there? So I had to kind of take on the cloak of, okay, I'm representing everyone that looks like me around this table when I'm sitting here. And I had to, is that normal?
No, that's not.
Too funny.
So I had to think about, everyone that kind of came in the room with me when I showed up. A lot of HR people aren't there yet. And that's okay because they kind of started HR when it was very transactional and tactical and not strategic. And so now a lot of people are morphing into what they call the human resources business partner or the human capital business partner, where you're really integrated with the company. You're integrated with either a business unit or a particular manager, so you can really understand what the needs are of his people. And if he is strategic, then he understands that having HR in the room and at the table when they're making decisions is the best thing to do because we're on the forefront bringing people in and we're on the back end when they leave.
Because I'm sorry to hog this, but
that's okay.
I'm kind of going back to my experience as an employee.
Okay.
And I'm also looking at myself as an entrepreneur also. Now, if someone enters a company in a junior level and their aspiration is to get to that managerial level, maybe a senior manager, no one is really there to prep them and guide them and provide them training. So HR should be that one person or one entity that identifies certain traits within that person and say, you got leadership qualities. You got leadership, you got management qualities. And through assessments and evaluations, help them to get to that level. Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
No, actually it's not. So the managers, because they have direct relationships with that employee. So HR really is, if you could think of us almost as a third party. So we're not dealing with that employee day in and day out. We don't necessarily know what their skills are unless we start seeing performance reviews come through. That's when HR is on the radar now. We're like, oh, okay, this person's considered a high performer. This person's on the track for succession planning. Now, yeah, they're on our radar, but it's not up to us to say, okay, this should be your next step. Their manager really is supposed to be that first line in terms of a mentor, someone who's helping them develop their career. We can come in on the sidelines and help support those initiatives by making certain that are they being aligned to the right projects based on what we said the goals were for this individual. These are the things that we're looking for at the next level. Here are their gaps. Are we getting them the training or the coaching to fill those gaps? So we are holding down the managers accountable for that career path, but we're not, and it can happen, but strategically it usually doesn't happen that way.
Interesting.
And isn't my girlfriend was an HR director. She worked for the food division of Continental Airlines before they merged with United, and so they had a different approach because it came from the top, just as you said. Their GM was very people oriented, so they had Employee Appreciation Day, and she was very hands-on with her employees. That, in fact, one time I remember there was an employee that didn't show up to work, but he was very, very dependable and was always at working time. Had been working for the company for like 20-something years, and one day he didn't show up. And so the employees came, and it's like, we don't know what's going on. Not in a sense, where is this person? And we're about to fire him because he's AWOL, right? They were like, so she sent out someone that she knew who was close to him. They went to his house, and he had died over the weekend. Wow. And so they actually made all the arrangements to reach his family and so forth and so on. Wow. So, but again, you know, Continental Airlines or the airlines at that time, it's a whole different animal now, but they were, they're governed by the FAA. Yeah. So whatever they did was above reproach. In fact, she was saying, it would be, now that United merged, when United merged with Continental, the whole environment changed. Yeah. So they were no longer employee first or associate, because that's what they called them. Culture. They were, it was all coming from the top, and it was all about money, and we don't even care about the employees at this point.
Yeah.
Don, you have a question?
I'm trying to grasp how independent HR employee works.
I'm kind of doing the same
so
thing.
As
you mean a consultant?
Okay. So tell me exactly, what do you do with companies?
So
give me a clear view of this.
Sure. So I have this one client I'm working with now. They're looking to grow.
Meaning a company?
Yes.
Okay. Small company?
It's a small company.
Okay.
With multiple locations here in California. And they're looking to grow. And what they don't have really is, they started as a mom and pop, very, the CEO led from the heart, and he cares about his employees, but they're kind of running amok.
Okay.
So they're at a point now where they're getting ready to grow. They need some structure. They need some policies and procedures, so they're prepared for the amount of growth that he wants to see. And also, he can pull himself out of the day-to-day operations as CEO. So he's not the one who's saying, yes, you can have that time off. It's okay if you haven't earned it. We're still going to pay you. Now my job is to come in and give him the policies that he can refer employees back to say, oh, well, you've already used your vacation.
Okay.
You can't go in the hole for more than this many days, and you've gone into the hole. So now either you can not take the time off, or you can take it off and not get paid. So now he'll have something to stand on, a foundation to stand on.
Policies and procedures.
Yeah, and do like a cultural assessment. So I go in and I kind of get a sense of, what is the culture here, and where are you trying to take the company?
Okay.
So compared to where you are right now to where you want to go, what is it going to take to get you there? What types of infrastructure? What types of policies and procedures? What types of training? Do you need to have career pathing for your employees? Okay. And if so, what does that look like? Let's look at job descriptions. Are they clearly defined, and do they really fit the needs of what you need for that individual in that role?
All right, so that's what you do for the company. Do you do anything for the employees that are within the company?
It depends. So sometimes there's training specifically that they want rolled out for their employees. So I'm talking to another client now. They're looking for specific training because they had employees who now they're in these leadership roles, and they don't really have leadership skills. They had good tactical skills where they knew their job, but they've been put into manager roles, and now they have to learn interpersonal skills, how to manage people, how to follow policy and procedure, how to write people up in a 3-step process. Right. So that types of training I'll be doing with them to help them close those gaps.
I'm going to try to clarify something here, because I think I kind of know what HR is about, but I just and you know I'm not just saying from your standpoint.
Right.
I'm just speaking globally. But I just want to clarify.
Okay.
So, do you follow basketball?
Well, I just watched the game that the Warriors won. That was about all the basketball I watched.
Are you serious?
She watched the championships.
How about football?
No.
Okay, so I'm not really into football either, but I
Okay.
kind of follow it. But and I also understand the principle.
Okay.
So, the commissioner of those sports, their job is to advocate on behalf of the owners of the team, not the players,
Right.
even though it's called all of whatever it's called, right? So when a player comes in, they might be thinking that the commissioner is going to be looking out for their best interest, but not really. So they have to go to the Players Association and the unions and all of that. With HR, is HR looking out for the best interests of the organization as opposed to the employees?
HR jobs is to mitigate risk. So
For the company.
right.
Bam! That's it.
So
if
let
that
me, this is a good question
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
let's
That's how I was
take
getting to.
football right now
Okay.
with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And so if HR is there to mitigate risk for the company, they had a whole big risk right about now.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a
yeah.
gaping hole.
Yeah.
I wish I could get my hands on it.
I know because
That's a juicy one.
Yeah, because the players are actually talking about
Yeah.
sitting out the season.
Yeah.
And that's what I've said.
Yeah.
They don't even have to sit out a full
Right.
season.
Right.
All they have to
That's
do
right.
is sit out the first,
That's right.
Yeah.
either the first 10 games
Yeah.
or
them where it
the
hurts.
10
Yeah.
games before the Super Bowl
Right.
or
Right.
before the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
And that would
They're
be
going to
it.
lose a lot of revenue.
Because last
Gotta
year
hit 'em
they
where it
made
hurts.
$14 billion,
Yeah.
and that was the owners, the ESPN, all the affiliates
Yeah.
that are involved in that industry.
And that's going to change behavior.
That will change behaviors, right?
Yes.
That's right.
So when you look at that, when we talk about mitigating
Yeah.
risk,
Yeah.
what are their HR? And it would have to be an outside consultant.
Right, exactly.
That is not going to happen from the internal,
No,
right?
it won't.
And that's why
they have too much to lose.
that's why I've been asking the questions I have, because previously, before now, you have companies, they bring in their own HR people, and those people used to be a part of the team, an employee of the company, but then they're HR. So then we're, as an employee, we're thinking, okay, HR is for us, but
Right.
not really. HR is there to mitigate risk on behalf of the company.
And that's why there's no trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's why there's no trust.
That's our first in command, right? That's what we are hired to do, is to
Right.
help them mitigate risk and help them walk the line of what they're saying in their handbooks they stand behind.
Right.
So
Now,
when
in
you
terms
get
of
the letters from the employees that says things are happening and you're told from the upper management to kill it, you got to kill it.
Yeah.
You can. Now, you do have people who push the envelope in a good way. So you'll have people that will come back and say, look, if this is not resolved, if this is not investigated, or if this is not handled based on our policy,
Right.
here's what's going to happen. So then it's a matter of, okay, leadership needs to make the decision how
Right.
they want to move forward. So that's what I'm saying about mitigating the risk. So we're going to hold them to the fire in terms of policy and procedure, legally what we can and can't do. Sometimes it helps if we have internal legal counsel or external employment counsel we can bring in to support us in terms of what we're recommending.
Yeah.
But that's all we do. It's the
Right.
same thing with hiring. We just recommend
Right.
hire this person. We think they're going to be a good fit. It's up to the
Right.
manager to say, okay, I'm going to hire them. So
Exactly.
Well, we're having a great conversation. Sorry to interrupt you, co-host. But yeah, this is a great subject. So we're at the top of the hour. Why don't we go ahead and take a quick break and come right
But
back?
just before we take a quick break, there's a question from on Facebook, Candace.
Oh.
Candace, hey Candace,
Hey,
how are
Candace.
you? She wants to know, do you write employee handbooks?
I do.
Oh,
Okay,
beautiful.
Candace, that's your response.
Yeah, we write them. Okay,
a co-author.
so we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. We're on the Business Zone with
Crystal.
Gilbert
And Dawn.
All right. And our special guest today is Tana Sessions, and she's a phenomenal HR consultant and entrepreneur. So we're going to get back into this, and we're going to get into the belly of the beast. So let's take a break.
Belly of the beast.
Hello, meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business.
So we're back on the Business Zone with
Crystal,
Gilbert,
and Dawn.
All right. And
I'm loving this. We have to redo the commercial.
We just branded Dawn into the show, so we're going to have to do some trademarks and some copywriting here so she can get her cut.
Yes, I like that. I like the way this guy. Yes,
he's an entrepreneur.
And our special guest is Miss Tana Sessions, and she's an HR consultant and specialist, and she also is an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And she's been providing us some great insight and information and the whole dynamics of HR.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Candace again. She says Tana will be with the boutique tomorrow with Cosette White. Dr. Cosette White has been a guest on the show as well. I'll tell you, she's everywhere.
Excellent.
And also great topics, ladies, and Gilbert.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Candace. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace.
So, Tana, why don't you tell us a little bit, because I'm sure you've got some books that you want to talk about also. So,
and a tour that you're doing in Atlanta. And
to share a little of that with us.
Okay, so yes, I said I left corporate almost 3 years ago now and started my business as TMS Business Solutions. But I branded as TanaMSession.com. Mm-hmm. So TanaMSession.com, follow me. And I offer, coaching for individuals as well as going into companies and doing consulting, leadership and executive coaching, as well as training, etc. And I started my own live events this year. And so what happened late last year, I was applying for all of these speaking engagements. So you guys talked about entrepreneurs here and know all the time. And I was sitting over there like, I was applying for all of these speaking engagements for 2018, and I wasn't getting selected. And so I told my husband, I said, I'm just going to create my own event. And I'll do it my way, and I'll have my people come, my tribe, and just get in front of them and do an event. And I'll bring in some speakers, like the same thing I was trying to get involved in as a speaker. I said, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to have the stage, and then other speakers will have to come to me. And that's exactly what happened. So I started out in New York in May, and then I'm taking it to Atlanta in August. And so people say, well, why not LA? Well, I'm originally from New York. In case you can't tell.
But no, I hear, because I'm from New York as well. Yeah. I hear it there.
So I'm originally from New York, and I had so many friends and family there asking me to come speak because they've seen everything I've been doing since I left. And I said, well, I'm trying to get booked, but I'm not getting selected. So I said, I'm going to go home first. So I'll go to New York. Went to New York in May, had a phenomenal event, great turnout, nice size group of ladies that showed up. So it's called Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. It's a one-day masterclass for women. And
Is it paid?
What do you mean?
Do they
have to pay?
Yes. So there's a ticket to come in, and it's a full day. So we're there from 8 to 4:30. It includes lunch. I have a couple of guest speakers come in, and we're just pouring into them for the entire day. And we're talking to them about how to own their power, their truth, their healing, their worth, and their destiny. And we talk about career advice. We talk about business advice. We talk about personal issues that women, especially women of color, we have historical and generational wounds that we have to heal in order to be successful. So again, we tend to make emotional decisions without realizing why we're making these decisions or why these triggers are happening. So that's what I walked them through. And I took it to Atlanta in August because I lived there for many years as well, and still have a great amount of supporters and followers there. And so now I'm gearing up for that, and I'm promoting that right now.
Awesome.
You just said something that's very interesting, that some women make emotional decisions and they don't know why. Can you elaborate on that a little bit and give us an example?
Okay. So I'll give you an example of a client.
Yeah.
She came to me thinking that she just wanted a new job. And I said, okay, that's a symptom. We need to look at what the problem is. And so when we started digging deeper into her issues in the workplace. We found out that those issues really resonated from things she hadn't dealt with from home, from growing up. So I tell people it's like a funnel. I start up here, and then by the time I get down here, we find out what that problem was. And now this is what we need to be dealing with, this mess right here. Yeah. All of this up here were the symptoms of everything that you never dealt with. So we're told to get over things. We're told that you should be okay. We're told that, we have to put on a superwoman cape and wear it all day long and be wives, significant others, mothers, employees, business owners, everything we do in the community, and we never take time for ourselves. And so we don't give ourselves that time and that permission to deal with historical or generational things that have impacted us. And now these things manifest and they show up in different ways. So you act out in the workplace, you act out in relationships, you act out with your children, you act out with your friends, your girlfriends, you wonder why you don't have friends. So all of these things, and that's what I deal with in my coach. So my coach program is called Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. Yeah. And that's what I walk all of my clients through on an individual basis, but I do it on a very high level at my events.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and we do have some internal stuff. We have stuff that
I don't.
Don,
she must have been through my program.
No, Don works hers out on the weight, man. Right? Because you haven't seen anything.
I leave it right there on the floor.
And so you see this little powerball over here in the gym.
I don't have issues.
That's what most women think they don't.
Yeah.
Most women think that they don't.
That's true.
That's true. So, and if you don't have a coping mechanism, I was just telling someone that today, last week, or no, actually 2 days ago, that especially if you serve, if you are, your business is about service, then, everybody's piling their stuff on you. Yeah. But there's never a time where you stop and take care of you, right? And when it's like being a psychologist, right? And that's part of the you're hearing all of their problems and all their issues. And you got your own, but some of theirs are so much worse than yours that you push yours. You keep pushing yours down. And in our business, I am very excited about holidays because people don't call me. Yeah. if it's Thanksgiving, they with family. If it's Christmas, it's with family. If it's 4th of July, they're with family. They don't call me because other than that, they call all the time. And it's not that I don't love you, clients. I do, but
that is too funny.
Right, but that's why I started working. One of the reasons I started working out. One of the reasons I play tennis on Saturday mornings is because folks know I don't answer phones on Saturday morning because I'm on a tennis court. I don't even have my phone on me.
That's awesome.
And then the dancing, the music going on, I can't even hear the phone. Only thing it's doing is recording my calories that I'm working out in. And I did that so I could have me time. It's important to have me time.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So, and then do you have some me time?
I do. Yes. Yeah. So I have certain days when I do calls with clients because you're right. You're taking that energy on, right? And when I'm coaching, I have to be so in tune and actively listening to understand, like, what are they not saying, right? So I have to be really tuned in. So it does take a lot of energy. And then same thing with speaking. It takes a lot of energy. Like I told my husband that this weekend. I spoke on Saturday, and I came home and I was just like, I just need to take a nap. And he's like, all you did was talk.
Right, like that's something easy, right?
That's energy, and you're giving energy, and you're getting it back.
All you did was talk. You tried talking all day.
That's right. So I definitely have my me time. I give myself permission to take naps. I embrace them now, and I definitely have certain days when I will talk to clients, certain days when I won't, because I need to also be able to run my business on the back end. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have to debrief yourself.
Yeah, you do.
I know. In fact, one of the children in the camp, these are young kids, right? And so we're there from 9 o'clock in the morning. They have to be there at 8:30 from 9 to 5. So he says to me today was day 3, so yesterday was day 2. He goes, I said, so what did you guys learned? And let me know over what you've learned over the last 3 days. He goes, last night I recognized that I'm not quite ready for the 9 to 5 grind.
How old is he?
I think he's 11, 12. And I said, why? He said, because I would sleep by 6:30.
Hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Hey, that's a great program.
That is hilarious.
That's why we have child labor laws.
Right, exactly. And he said it, and he's like a little Obama. We call him the Obama. He's a very tall, fit, and he'll talk, and you know how Obama has that
Where he
stop,
pauses.
he pauses, he'll pause, he'll look around, and then, okay. And he says, I realize I'm not ready for the 9 to 5 grind.
That is cute.
No, I feel you, kid.
That's right. I feel you.
Because we feel you, so that's why. So, Gilbert, I don't know if you do the downtime.
I really don't, and I should.
Oh, what?
Because
Yeah.
I'm here listening to you guys, and I'm going, I should. Because you see how you take Saturdays? Mm-hmm. 24/7.
Yeah, no, you got to.
People call me like after 9 at night, even though, with business issues, and I'm going, man, I respond. I help them.
Yeah, and you have to. Don, you take downtime, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. When she goes to the gym like in the middle of the night, she had goals at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'm gonna have to adopt the policy that
Yes,
you three have.
Yeah.
It works
You
for
have
men
to.
too. It works
Yeah.
for men too.
I feel like I am a bartender sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, because
Being
they
everyone's problem.
They like a counselor, right?
Yes.
They come to
Yeah.
you.
Especially when I'm trying to help them with their diet. And so I'm trying to figure out, oh my gosh, he didn't call me last night, so I had potato chips.
So I ate
The whole bag. That's nice.
can't eat just one.
Oh my goodness. And then they go into tell, I'm trying to, okay, so you had potato chips.